Hey everyone, Ripley with Bob's Watches. I'm here with Justin for another episode of Watch Talk. Whether you love them or hate them, Rolex nicknames are an inherent part of watch collecting, so we're sitting here today with 5 of our favorites. Also, if you haven't done so already, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel so that you can stay up to date on our latest video content. All right, so before we get in, a quick wrist check. Justin, what do you have on today?
Well, I'm staying on theme. I'm wearing the Submariner, the Kermit.
Very nice.
Yeah, I wanted to stay with the nicknames. Also, love the watch. I'm a big fan of green, so this one along with the Hulk and pretty much anything with green on it, I'm a fan. So yeah, I got the nod today.
Big fan of that one. I'm also keeping in theme with the nickname theme today. I've got on the Batman because it's not one of the ones we're covering, but easily a fan favorite,
Easily
one of the most popular.
Yeah, Batman, that's a great
And of course,
watch.
this is the 126710 because it's got the Jubilee, although
Very
you
nice.
can get it with an Oyster now as well.
Yeah, I like them both.
All right, so I guess let's jump in.
Yeah, so there's a lot of watches
many
that have
nicknames,
nicknames, right? Some are a little more obvious than others. Some are a little stretchy to me, but we're going to talk about a few of them. Let's start with one of the biggest, probably, which is the Pepsi. And this isn't just any Pepsi, right? We're gonna go with the big boy here, right? We got something special.
Yeah, this is the full flavor Pepsi. Nothing diet about this one. This is the current production 126719 BLRO Pepsi with the meteorite dial. So this is the current white gold ceramic Pepsi and the most luxurious execution of it with the meteorite dial.
Why is it called a Pepsi?
So, because it's red and blue. I mean, the red and blue color scheme, and that's the origins of the Pepsi name, date back to the very first GMTs from the 50s. And it's been a color that has been more or less consistently offered throughout the range, with the exception of a few years here and there. It had nothing to do with Pepsi when it first came out. Red and blue is the color of Pan Am Airways. It also, the split red and blue is somewhat reminiscent of the attitude indicators on airplanes at the times. Regardless of what it was, the very first GMT Masters from the mid-50s had red and blue inserts, and consequently they picked up the Pepsi name, and that has just stayed throughout the years. So the Pepsi name doesn't just apply to this one reference or any one singular reference. It's basically any red and blue GMT.
Or even Rolex. Pepsi's one that's across lots of brands.
Yeah, you'll hear almost anything with a red and blue insert called a Pepsi.
Yeah, there's tons of different watches with Pepsi bezels, but it's a great looking watch. It's a great looking bezel. I like the contrast of the red and blue. It's a little more stylish to me than just the black, so I'm a fan of it. And this one with the meteorite dial and the white gold, I mean, this one's, like we talk about, like this one's to the 9, so it's a lot more than just the Pepsi, but it is a version of the Pepsi, and it's really nice.
Yeah, and I think for the Pepsi is probably one of the most commonly used nicknames in Rolex, and it isn't immediately clear what it might refer to if it's a reference, and it really is just the insert, a red and blue insert.
Right.
So it can be almost any reference throughout history except the 116710 LNs and then the 16760, like the Fat Lady, which was only in a Coke. But throughout the history, red and blue has been the general go-to color, the quintessential GMT. So of course they're offering it now. It's kind of the fan favorite. And although the black and blue, like what I'm wearing, the Batman, is a bit more versatile, for a lot of people, it's the Pepsi that is the quintessential Rolex GMT.
It really is.
Watch.
It's the classic GMT colorway, and like you said, it's the one you think about.
Yeah, and one that you're almost going to frequently come across. Now,
up next,
yeah, moving over
let's look.
from one watch where it has a nickname that could refer to a multitude of different references to one that the nickname only applies to one reference.
This is this specific watch.
Yeah, the Hulk. The Hulk, unlike the Pepsi, the Hulk is only one reference. It is the 116610 LV Submariner from the previous generation. This one came out in 2010, produced it up until just 2020 when it was discontinued. And so it's the only Rolex Submariner to feature a green dial. So they have the Kermit, like what you're wearing, and then they have the Cermit or Starbucks or whatever you want to call it, which is the 41 mil with a black dial and green bezel.
The newer one.
But this kind of stands out. Obviously the green.
This one's easy to tell why it's called the Hulk, right? I mean, it's giant, it's green and white, and it's a big green watch.
Exactly. Compared to yours, it's noticeably chunkier.
We can actually do a comparison here.
Yeah, so it's got that super case, so it's a bigger watch. It's greener, bigger, meaner, greener, the Hulk. It's a natural fitting. Yeah, there you go. And you can tell it's quite a bit greener and quite a bit larger as well. So in this sense, Kermit to the Hulk, it makes sense.
Yeah.
And what's interesting about the Hulk is when it was first released, a lot of people weren't a fan of the all green sub.
Yeah, I remember this was a watch that was not popular.
No, even though it retailed for, I think it was like $50 more or something like that when it first came out than the all black version. On the pre-owned market, when it first came out, you could actually get them for quite a bit less. Now, obviously, that's very, very different
It's
now.
changed quite a bit,
You'll be paying a premium of minimum several $1,000s more for the Hulk versus the black version. But it now is one of the most unique steel subs that's ever been created.
And it makes sense. I mean, green is Rolex's color, and if they're trying to do something different, it's just a natural progression for them, right? And personally, I like it. I know a lot of people, they like the collectability, they don't really like the styling of it. Me, I love it. I think ever since it came out, I thought it looked really good. Like you said, it's not quite as versatile as a black, but for me, I think it looks great. I like that difference to it.
And I like how it's
that it's
sunburst.
eye-catching.
It's the only steel sub with a sunburst style. So you can get a blue sunburst on the on the two-tone and solid gold ones, but going back throughout the steel subs, you can get gloss black, matte black, you can get gilt black, but this is the only sunburst, and it's a beautiful tone on top of that. So
it's different. I like it.
Yeah, real unique, and obviously open market prices are speaking to that and going up accordingly.
Okay, well, let's talk about the next one, which
another watch where the nickname can be a number. Oh God, and so many different references.
This one, the nickname on this is almost taken over the model name, right? The Rolex given name. When people think about this watch, do you think of the nickname first?
It's almost not a nickname. It's so commonly used. Yeah. So this is the president. People just refer to day dates as presidents now, but in reality, formally speaking, officially, the only thing actually called the president is this style of three-link semicircular bracelet.
Right.
The watch is the day date. It can be the day date 36, the day date 40, the day date 2, which is discontinued, but the watch is the day date. The bracelet's the president. And you can have day dates that aren't presidents.
Sure.
Oyster bracelets, leather straps, what have you. But because of that, because the president bracelet is designed for the day date, and it's typically the way people picture it, everyone just calls day dates presidents, and that has been running for decades.
Yeah, and it's like you said, it's when you look at this watch, it's the president, it's not the day date.
And the name itself goes back super far as well. So even before the day date was a watch, Eisenhower had a solid gold date just. Lyndon Johnson also famously wore a gold day date on a president bracelet in office. But because by that point, and when Eisenhower was wearing his gold date just, there actually wasn't a day date yet. That came out in '56. But because by that point, by the time Johnson was president, there had been a history of U.S. presidents wearing these solid gold Rolexes. People just saw the solid gold watch, fluted bezel, gold bracelet, president's watch. Over the years, it's formally means this, but it actually has its origins in a watch that wasn't even a day date at all, or a president bracelet. But now it's any day date synonymous with president.
Exactly, kind of the opposite of the Hulk, where it's to one specific model, one specific watch. This one, president refers to just about any solid gold watch with the three-link president bracelet, or without, if it has the day indicator on it. A lot of people, anything with a day indicator gets called a president. I mean, it's a really loose term.
Yeah, it shouldn't. If you got a day date without a president bracelet, it is a day date.
Right.
But you'll also hear people just call it a president. And similarly, the lady presidents and mid-sized presidents, which themselves are date justs, they don't have the actual day of the week at 12 o'clock, but it is fitted with the three-link president bracelet, so it's a president. Lady president, mid-sized president. It's probably the most ubiquitous name in all of Rolex collecting, and I mean, it's so close to being official. But again, no Rolex nickname is official. That is important to note. It doesn't matter how commonly they're used. They're all entirely unofficial, and including the president.
So next up, we have another Submariner. Sport watch. Sport watches tend to be, I see a lot of nicknames in sport watches, right?
Yeah, and
I think they're fun to name, or I don't know why.
Fun to name, I think there's less variation. Like if you tried to come up with a nickname for every single dial variation for the date just,
that's true.
You're not even going to keep track of them yourself.
There's countless.
But with the sub, it's a pretty concise lineup, and I think that's where you get these nicknames, same as the Explorer 2, white or black, polar,
Right.
And so for this one, we've got the Smurf.
Okay, so it's a white gold Submariner with a blue dial and a blue ceramic bezel.
Yeah, so this was released alongside the full yellow gold models in 2008 as the first Submariners with ceramic bezels. Unlike the blue sub that has like we were just talking about, a sunburst style, this has a flat, like glossy blue dial. And so between its bright blue dial and its full white metal construction, white text, white and blue, got the nickname the Smurf. And just like the Hulk, it's now unique because they discontinued this one. It came out in 2008, discontinued it in 2020. And the new white gold sub has a blue bezel still, but has a black dial.
Black dial, right.
So a similar thing happened with the green bezel steel varieties. This is now the only white gold sub with a blue dial and a blue bezel. And
which is its own watch and its own nickname. I mean, we really could have filled this table up with nicknames. It's kind of difficult to choose 5, but yeah, this one is its own.
Exactly. And so the Smurf is the 116619. It isn't any other reference. It really just refers to this particular Submariner, just like the Hulk, and unlike the Pepsi and the President. I know this is also another fan favorite because, again, just like the Hulk, it's immediately distinct. And unlike the steel variety here, you'll notice because this one is made out of solid gold, you have high polish center links on the bracelet. And so that's just another little indicator that the watch itself is made out of gold rather than steel. And obviously, you know, you'll only find blue on two-tone and solid gold watches.
And it does have a different look, like you said. A lot of people probably don't catch that right away, which I think is kind of nice. You see this from across the room and you're not really sure on all the models and the materials, all that. You very easily mistake this for a stainless steel watch.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's kind of in the stealth wealth category. Those who know.
Sure.
But I really love the dial in this.
I do too.
The blue ceramic, it's such a bright, punchy color, but it's that flat color. It's not metallic at all.
Right.
And I think this dial perfectly complements it, whereas the sunburst dial is more of a contrasting effect. This is a really, really cohesive blue from the whole bezel all the way through to the dial. Really clean with all white text. It's a great watch, but obviously a very expensive sub as well.
Very expensive. I love it. I like the blue. Blue and watches are so good, right? I mean, it's, you know, there's so many blue watch fans out there, and there's so many different companies that try and incorporate blue, everything from subtle to totally crazy. And I think Rolex did a really good job of making this all blue. I mean, they leaned into it, but it's not tacky and it's not overly flashy. It still has that, you know, classic Submariner look. It still has the, you know, the high-end kind of luxury feel without being kind of like childish or playful. I think it's just really well done, and it's one of my favorite Submariners.
Yeah, and like any sub good to 300 meters, it is just as much of a professional dive watch. Granted, it's heavy enough to you know take the place of your weight belt.
I was going to say you probably have to drop one of the weights off your weight belt if you're actually taking it diving because it's big. You notice it on your wrist. That metal's heavy.
Well, let's keep with the theme of dive watches that can take the place of your weight belt with blue dials and pull in our final pick. If that was heavy, this is heavier and it's steel. We've got the James Cameron. So this is the Deep Sea. This is the current production version of the Deep Sea, so the 126660, and this is the D Blue dial. Technically, the James Cameron nickname will be any Deep Sea with the D Blue dial, so it can apply to either this model here or the 116660, which first came out in 2014. The James Cameron is kind of an unusual Rolex nickname because it actually has something to do with James Cameron rather than just, you know, being something he wore once or what have you. In 2012, he dove to the bottom of the Mariana Trench, historic solo dive, set the record at the time, and to commemorate the occasion, just in 2014, right ahead of the launch of his movie that he was filming, Rolex unveiled this, which is the D Blue dial version of the Deep Sea. He wore a Deep Sea. There was a special prototype version of the Deep Sea Special strapped to the outside of the submarine. So Rolex had a lot of involvement in the mission itself. And so to commemorate that record-breaking dive, they created this particular dial for their most balls to the walls dive watch.
Sure, and it's very appropriate, right? I mean, the Deep Sea, and it was a trip to the Marianas Trench, like exactly what this watch was built to do.
Yeah, we often laugh about how, you know, this is, as a dive watch, this is far more capable than anything anyone's ever going to need. But when James Cameron is actually in his submersible going to the very bottom of the ocean, this is actually the type of watch that you need. It has a helium escape valve, which actually does become a factor when you're doing deep saturation diving and dealing with mixed pressures. It's also got 3,900 meters of water resistance, which is 13 times that of the Submariner, which is kind of impressive.
Already,
already more than you'll ever need. And the cool thing about this dial is it fades from kind of a rich blue to black as you go from 12 o'clock to 6 o'clock. And what that's supposed to do is mimic the way that light disappears the deeper you dive down. And you'll notice the Deep Sea name is in bright neon green letters, which are the same color of James Cameron's submersible that he was using for the. So it actually is tethered to it, the mission and all of that. It does speak to it in a way that you don't necessarily see with these.
Exactly. And so aside from the regular black dial version of this watch, that's the only difference. It just has a different dial. But there's a lot of thought and a lot of design that went into creating the dial like that, and I think they did a fantastic job. Like you said, it's like you're looking at the ocean sideways, and you can see how near the surface at 12 o'clock it's bright blue, you get the water, the ocean, and as you go down to where light doesn't reach anymore, it slowly fades to black, and then you have the bright green, which is this color submersible. So you look at it and you can kind of see a little mini scene of the actual mission, the actual dive to the trench, and I'm impressed by how much thought went into it, and the fact that they were able to kind of recreate it on a dial in such a stylistic way.
Yeah, without getting overtly kitschy with having like a little submarine painted on it or something.
Exactly.
And I know there are some who think this itself is a bit kitschy, but at the same time, I think from a collectability and uniqueness standpoint, there's something to be said. Rolex doesn't really do a lot of tribute watches, or they don't really partner with athletes to do signature editions or limited releases or anything like that. And they have releasing something to celebrate an occasion out of season and very much explicitly tethered to an event. That's very
rare. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think this is the only time Rolex has ever done that.
That I'm aware of. Yeah. You'll certainly have watches like the Federer dial date just too that pick up a name from a person, or like the Clint Eastwood. But as far as what's something Rolex has intentionally done, not really in collaboration with a person, but explicitly in reference to something, it's one of the few. And although it's been in production now for since 2014 and now spread across 2 different references, there's a lot of people who think this is going to be a big collectible because it's an unusual watch, and compared to the Sub, the Deep Sea just doesn't sell in nearly the same number of figures. It's quite a bit larger, quite a bit thicker, quite a bit more expensive. So just by numbers, there's not as many as sold as you might expect. But it is really unique, and when it is discontinued, I wouldn't be shocked to see prices shoot up.
I wouldn't either. It's nice. I like big watches. I know this one's probably pretty tough. As someone who errs on the side of smaller watches, this one's probably pushing well past the limits of wearability for you.
Yeah, for me, it's the thickness more than anything else. It's a very thick watch.
It's really thick.
But it's not without its merits. There's a reason it's so thick and big, and if Rolex didn't use this unique ring lock system, it would actually be even thicker. So that thing that says original gas escape valve ring lock system, under there is this super hard nitrogen steel alloy ring that sits between the crystal and this 2-part case back, and so as the deep pressures found deep below the ocean are pressing on either side of it, the bulk of that pressure is supported by this internal ring, and so that genius design, and then the movements within that. So this ingenious design actually allows the watch to be way thinner than it would otherwise need to be. But granted, if you flip it next to the Submariner here, it's a chunky boy, and there's no 2 ways about it. It is a thick watch, and I think for me personally, I've got small wrists as an everyday watch, maybe a little bit too thick, but I can easily wear it around for a time to time. It's not like some watches where it's just straight up unwieldy. But yeah, 44 millimeters across, it's a presence no matter how you cut it.
Definitely.
Well, I guess
it's that time.
Yeah. Which one of these is getting your pick? Unlimited budget, gotta keep it. What's it gonna be?
As always, it's very close between a couple, but this week I'm confidently going with the Smurf. It's such a good looking watch, and it's different. You don't see them all the time. When I see one in the wild, it's always kind of special. And we're talking unlimited budget, and hands off, that's the one I'd take.
Yeah, that was my second choice. I think for this one, I don't own a GMT. I think the Pepsi is just an undisputed icon of horology. And if you're gonna own one, why not get one with a dial made of meteorite in solid white gold? I
agree, and this was the tough decision that I've been mulling over all episode.
We can swap
exactly.
Change,
I'm a fan of the GMT, and to me the Sub was an easy choice over the normal GMT, but the white gold with the meteorite dial, that's a lot closer. That's a really good looking watch. Yeah,
for me, I think if this was the regular white gold, I'd probably take the Smurf on this one, but it's a meteorite dial Pepsi.
Absolutely.
That's going to get my vote this week. Well, our picks, but we want to hear yours, so make sure you tell us those in the comments below. Also, make sure to let us know, do you have any Rolex nicknames that are your favorite, or any that are your least favorite and that should probably be cut entirely from the Rolex vernacular? Until next time, he's Justin, I'm Ripley, we'll see you then.